Hello and welcome back to Parts Cannon Garage. Look who's back. It's our old friend Scotty. The reason Scotty's out here is because we got a few deliveries today, and unfortunately the coils, points, condensers that someone suggested are not the right size. The coils are really small and the square in the center is tiny and it would never be able to go on this. So we gave it a try. These are actually for a Tecumseh lawnmower, I guess, but we tried. We may be able to use the condensers. The other delivery was the new head gasket, which looks really great. So I'll show you the old head gasket right here. It's pretty beat up and it does not have steel rings, and here's the new one, which is really nice and shiny, and you can see the steel rings, which is a lot different. So the goal for today is to put the head back on with the new head gasket. That should be exciting. And I have a number of folks on some forums telling me that this thing will have spark if I actually file the points with a file and not a piece of sandpaper. Apparently the people that are familiar with this particular setup say the coils hardly ever fail unless they're cracked, and these are not cracked. I've looked very closely. The condensers can go. So I was told file the heck out of these points, and if that doesn't work, change the condensers. So let's get going. And first we will work on filing these points. Take off the flywheel again very quickly. This is just on their hand press. Okay, and I grabbed some files. Where did I put them? Using a Tecton little mini file set. I'll put a link. These are the points right here. So I'm going to open those up and just file them. Put the key in. Put the flywheel back on. Again, I'm just going to hand pound it down. I'm going to take this head off. We'll be reinstalling it soon. We don't need it for this test. We're going to just run a quick spark test. And if you believe in miracles, that would be the time. These are all the head bolts. I just don't want to lose them. Okay. You gotta be kidding me. Okay, I'm bringing it in closer. I turned off everything but one light in here, so you can kind of see what I'm doing. There's the engine. There's the new plug. There's the end of the new plug. Amazing spark. All right, I swapped the plug into the other plug wire, which is the bottom wire. And let's try this one. Wow. Okay, we have really strong spark in both cylinders, or both plug wires. So, that is amazing. Wow. Okay, now that we have spark, I'm going to change the whiteboard from no Yes. Exclamation point. That is so exciting. Next, we'll put the head back on. I cleaned both surfaces really well. Okay, let's put the pull starter back on. So we'll spray a little of this, a couple drops of this down into the carb. That was a lot, but that's okay. I'm just looking at what it's going to take this power head off.
I still think it's ridiculous you have to remove the power head to pull a carb, but it really wasn't too bad. I removed some shift linkage on one side, just 2 nuts, then a boot, and then 9 screws holding the power head down, 1 connection to the stator, and then the fuel line as I was pulling it out. That's it. Here's the empty shell of a Scotty. Looks pretty clean inside though. And here's the power head. There's the carb. And we're going to pull that off. It's a Marvel Schleppler carburetor. I proceeded to disassemble the entire carburetor. It was pretty obvious right away that it was not in great shape. I cleaned every part by hand with just old-fashioned carb cleaner.
In the last scene, I left off with the carburetor disassembled. And what you didn't see is I put it in this Chem Dip carburetor parts cleaner. This Scotty carburetor has been soaking. I'll put the label up right now, hopefully. I took a picture of the tag that was on here. But this has been soaking in this chem cleaner. And all of the gaskets on this carb were just deteriorated. It was just a complete mess inside. Now I was able to find, believe it or not, a gasket set for this carburetor. This is everything that came off of the carb. Wow. Okay. A quick recap of where we're at with Scotty now. So, as you saw, I took everything apart, rebuilt the carburetor, everything was going great, and as I started to think about putting it back together, I noticed the intake manifold, at least that's what I call this thing, looked a little weird. One of the reeds looked like it was missing. So I took a closer look, and it's gonna be hard to see, but this is supposed to be one piece. If you can see that, this is supposed to be one piece, but this is broken off. So one of the
4 reeds, or maybe this whole thing is 1 reed, I'm not sure. But it's broken.
So, I went on the internet, looked around everywhere trying to find one of these, couldn't find one, but I did find a similar carburetor, which is right here, sold by L&L Vintage Outboard. They sent me a koozie. Thank you, Lance and Lisa. Their eBay store is Cyclone Lance. So anyway, they have a bunch of old vintage outboard parts. So I didn't want this carburetor because I had just rebuilt the other carburetor, but I had to buy the whole thing so that I could get a new intake with intact reeds. So this is the part that I wanted. I spent, I think, $68. Came with the carb and the intake. So now I have an extra carb. I hate these carbs, so I'm glad I have an extra one. And to recap the spending, where is it? So far on Scotty, we spent $35 on a head gasket, which is already installed. We spent $68 on an intake manifold, but as I just explained, it's really a carb and an intake manifold. I'll only be using that part. The carb kit, which was, all those various gaskets and everything you saw, hopefully, that was $38, and it went together really nicely. And then that's it. So we have a total of $166 invested in Scotty at this point. We have great spark. I'm really interested in getting this back together and checking the compression with the new digital meter. I am hoping, praying, fingers crossed, that this thing has good compression and just it was a problem with that analog compression tester. So without further ado, I'm going to try to put this thing back together and hopefully I can figure it out. There's a lot of parts sitting over there. I have my egg tray, I got all kinds of things to put together. So I'm going to put this together. I'll keep recording. I should mention, if anybody wants the raw footage of all of this or wants me to post a detailed, non-sped up version of the carb or something like that because it will help you, I'd be glad to do that. Just throw a request in the comments and I'll post whatever you want. Before I stick the power head back on Scotty, I'm going to do my favorite thing, which is to turn the drive shaft with a drill and see if any water comes out anywhere. Looks like the impeller is at least okay. We'll probably take a look at it once we take the bottom end off at some point, but the impeller seems to be working, certainly well enough to test it out. So I'll put Scotty back on the other stand and we'll try to put this thing back together. It's time for a compression test. Okay, we're in PSI. Grab the drill. And let's see. We have a new head gasket on here, but I have suspected all along that that analog compression tester was just wrong. 87. Scotty has 87 PSI on the top cylinder. That analog tester caused me a lot of sleepless nights. Okay, let's not celebrate too quickly. We need this cylinder to be, plus or minus 10%. So we'll probably take 75 to 95, something around there. You want them to be within 10% of each other, is the rule. Okay. $78, beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
The motor is now back together, more or less.
Leave it off for this. Plugs are in. Put our pull starter back on. Feel like it's been forever since this thing had a pull starter on it. I'm not gonna lie to you, this is pretty exciting. We have spark, we have great compression. The carburetor is completely rebuilt. So how many things did I screw up is the question. I double checked everything, but you never know. Okay, good enough. Let's get this in the barrel. Uh-oh, I heard something. Okay. Okay, folks. Well, we're going to end this video here. This thing is going to run great. I can guarantee it. I don't have a fuel tank hooked up to it or anything yet. I need to make a little gas line modification. It's running. It needs to be tuned up, of course. Get everything adjusted, get the carb adjusted the right way. But I feel good about this. So stay tuned for, I think it'll be episode 3C, where this thing is all back together. We put it in the water and we run it for real. Thank you for all your patience watching this one. This has been a beast, but I feel good about it. Spark is strong, compression's strong, carb seems to be working. I think we're gonna be golden. Thanks everyone, bye-bye.